The orbital station hung silently above the swirling bands of the gas giant, its massive rings reflecting the distant light of a blue-white sun. Ships of all shapes and sizes glided through its docking bays, from small personal cruisers to towering cargo freighters. Among the busiest sectors of the station was the luxury residential ring, where wealth and status were on full display. Here, only the finest technology, the most exquisite designs, and the most exclusive personnel were permitted. Ethan Drake stood on the observation deck of his private suite, gazing out at the glittering expanse of stars. Despite being one of the wealthiest humans in the galaxy, he carried no airs of arrogance. His demeanor was calm, his movements measured, and his sharp eyes missed nothing. His reputation as a brilliant innovator and investor had spread far beyond human space, yet he was still fascinated by the simple things. The way light shimmered off the station's metal surfaces, the way ships moved in perfect harmony through the docking corridors. While he appreciated luxury, Ethan valued talent and capability more than wealth or rank. That belief was about to bring him into contact with someone who had spent her life being underestimated. Lyra moved through the station's maintenance corridors with quiet precision. Her alien form was elegant, her movements smooth and efficient. She had worked as a maid for the station's elite for years, performing tasks that required skill, attention to detail, and patience. Yet despite her competence, she had been rejected by her own kind. A minor anomaly in her physiology, a slight deviation in symmetry, barely noticeable to outsiders, had rendered her unworthy in the eyes of the alien aristocracy. Lyra carried the weight of that rejection silently. She performed her duties flawlessly, but there was always a flicker of hesitation whenever she passed the judgmental eyes of her peers. She had learned to hide her disappointment, to channel her frustration into work, and to find small ways to prove her worth. She never imagined that anyone outside her species would notice her, much less appreciate her skills. It was during a routine inspection of the station's older maintenance sectors that Ethan first saw her. He had been walking along a narrow service corridor, far from the opulence of the suites, when he heard a soft hum of machinery being adjusted. Peering around the corner, he saw Lyra working meticulously on a complex system of conduits and power nodes. Her hands moved with precision, adjusting tiny connectors and rerouting energy flows with the care of a seasoned engineer. Ethan watched for a moment, impressed. Most humans would have hesitated at such advanced technology, but Lyra handled it as if it were second nature. What struck him even more was the lack of fear in her expression, the focus in her large, intelligent eyes. She noticed his presence but did not pause. Instead, she gave him a brief nod, acknowledging him without interrupting her work. Ethan felt a spark of curiosity. Here was someone dismissed by her own society, yet she possessed skill and intelligence beyond expectation. He stepped forward, careful not to disrupt her focus. "Excuse me," he said gently. "I couldn't help but notice your work."
May I ask how long you've been doing this?
Lyra glanced at him, her features softening slightly. "I have been maintaining these systems for several years," she replied. Her voice was melodic but restrained, carrying the faint accent of her species. "Most do not notice this section of the station. It is considered mundane," Ethan smiled. "To most, yes. To me, this is exactly where skill matters. May I observe for a moment?" Lyra hesitated, then nodded. "Very well, but do not touch anything without instruction. These conduits are delicate." As Ethan watched, he began asking questions not to challenge her, but to understand her thought process. Lyra answered with clarity and depth, explaining the design and function of each system. Her explanations were precise, logical, and surprisingly innovative. She had developed subtle improvements to the conduits that even the station's AI had not implemented. A sudden alarm blared throughout the maintenance corridors, echoing loudly. A critical failure had been detected in one of the orbital suite's main power conduits. The station's automated systems attempted to contain the issue, but it quickly became clear that human intervention, or in this case, expert intervention, was required. Ethan's attention sharpened. He had witnessed emergencies before, but this one had the potential to cause serious damage to both property and personnel. Without hesitation, he turned to Lyra. "Can you fix it?" he asked calmly. Lyra's eyes widened slightly. "It is possible, but it will require immediate access to the main conduits and rapid rerouting." "There is little margin for error," Ethan nodded. "Then let's do it. Lead the way." Together they moved through the narrow corridors toward the affected sector. Lyra guided Ethan, explaining each step as she worked. The problem was complicated, a delicate balance of power rerouting, precise calibration, and high-speed adjustments. Any misstep could result in catastrophic failure. Most station staff would have hesitated, waiting for clearance from the council or fearing reprimand for touching high-security systems. Lyra, however, moved with confidence, trusting her knowledge and skill. Ethan followed her instructions, providing support where needed, his steady hands and analytical mind complementing her precision. Time stretched painfully. Sparks flared from damaged conduits, warning lights flashed, and the station's AI broadcasted constant alerts. Yet Lyra remained calm, her movements deliberate and efficient. Ethan found himself relying on her insight, impressed not only by her technical ability but also by her courage. Finally, with a synchronized effort, they stabilized the system. The alarms ceased, the power flow returned to normal, and the station's automated systems acknowledged the resolution. Ethan exhaled, feeling the tension ease. "Remarkable work," he said sincerely, looking at Lyra. "You didn't just fix the problem, you improved it. Most engineers would have only patched it temporarily." Lyra's expression softened, a hint of pride touching her features. "Thank you. Few notice the work we do in these corridors. Most only see the failures, not the solutions." Ethan smiled. "Then I see it. And I see you." The statement hung in the air, simple yet profound. Lyra felt a warmth she had not experienced in years. For the first time, someone outside her own species had acknowledged her talent, her worth. Their victory, however, did not go unnoticed. The station's monitoring systems had recorded the incident, and reports were quickly sent to the Alien Council. Whispers spread through the station. A human had allowed a rejected alien to access sensitive technology. Some were intrigued, others were suspicious. That evening, in his private suite, Ethan reviewed the station's report alongside Lyra. He did not judge her for the council's reaction. Instead, he focused on her ability, her intellect, and her potential. "I want you to come work with me," he said finally, meeting her gaze. "Not as a maid, not as a servant, as a collaborator. Your skill deserves recognition, and I believe together we can accomplish things that others cannot even imagine." Lyra blinked, momentarily speechless. She had never imagined a human would make such an offer, let alone so sincerely. Fear and hope warred within her. Could she trust him? Could she leave the only life she had ever known, despite its humiliation and rejection, to venture into uncharted territory with a human she barely knew? Ethan seemed to read her thoughts. "I know it is a lot to ask," he said softly. "But talent should never be wasted, Lyra. Not yours, not anyone's." For a long moment she considered. Then slowly she nodded. "I will join you. But I must warn you, the council will not be pleased." Ethan's expression was calm, almost amused. "Let them come. We have work to do." And so in the silent glow of the orbital station, an unusual partnership was formed. A human billionaire and a rejected alien maid, bound together by mutual respect, shared intelligence, and a vision far beyond the rigid constraints of their societies. Neither knew where this collaboration would lead, only that for the first time they faced the future as equals, ready to challenge expectations and redefine what was possible. Outside the window, the gas giant swirled in endless patterns, a silent witness to the beginning of a story that would astonish both human and alien worlds alike. But far above, in the council chambers, eyes watched, whispers spread, and questions stirred. Who was this human who dared recognize a rejected alien? What consequences might unfold from this unlikely alliance? And what would happen when talent, courage, and determination collided across the boundaries of species and society? The answers would not come quickly. For now, Ethan and Lyra worked side by side, unaware of the storms gathering in the corridors of power, but ready to face them together when the time came. The council chambers of the orbital station were vast and cold, their metallic walls reflecting a sterile light that seemed designed to intimidate. Alien representatives from countless species gathered in tense silence, their faces and forms marked by the unmistakable pride of tradition and hierarchy. At the center of their attention was a single human, Ethan Drake, and beside him stood Lyra, the rejected alien maid who had defied expectation. Ethan stepped forward calmly, his posture composed, his voice steady. "I understand your concerns," he began. But skill, dedication, and intelligence should never be judged by appearance or rank. Lyra demonstrated abilities that prevented a disaster today. I believe she deserves recognition, not punishment. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Some aliens shifted uneasily, unable to reconcile centuries of rigid social rules with the reality of what had occurred. Others glared, their pride wounded by the idea that a human could publicly acknowledge a member of their species above themselves. One of the senior council members, a tall, serpentine being with shimmering scales, hissed, "This human has no understanding of our ways. He undermines our customs by giving a rejected one such attention. Are you aware of what you risk?" Ethan's expression did not change. "I am aware of the risks. But my responsibility is not to uphold outdated prejudice, it is to ensure results. Talent and courage matter more than tradition. Lyra saved lives today. That is what counts." The council fell into murmured debate. Lyra remained silent, her hands clasped calmly in front of her. Fear and anticipation warred in her chest, but Ethan's steady presence gave her courage. For the first time in her life, she did not feel small or insignificant. Finally, one counselor stepped forward, her translucent wings catching the light. She was a figure of authority, her eyes sharp and commanding. If this human values results above all, then let this be a demonstration. Show us here in the council chambers that his judgment is not misplaced. Ethan nodded. Very well. Lyra and I will demonstrate the project we have been working on together. He and Lyra were led to a demonstration chamber filled with complex machinery, holographic displays, and interlinked systems representing the station's power and logistics networks. Many council members watched skeptically, expecting mistakes or failure. Some leaned forward, eager to see the human embarrassed. Lyra's hands moved quickly, linking systems, recalibrating sensors, and initiating sequences Ethan had designed. Together, they guided a complex interstellar transport simulation through unexpected obstacles. Power surges, sudden shifts in cargo demands, and simulated failures in the station's AI. Each time, Lyra's precise adjustments and Ethan's strategic interventions corrected the systems before errors could escalate. The simulation concluded flawlessly. Energy efficiency was optimized, cargo throughput was maximized, and emergency contingencies had been integrated seamlessly. The chamber fell silent. Even the most critical council members could not hide their astonishment. "Remarkable," said the serpentine counselor. "This level of optimization, combined with proactive problem-solving, exceeds anything our own engineers have managed. And it was achieved by a human and a rejected alien." Lyra's chest tightened with emotion. For the first time, she felt the weight of centuries of rejection lift from her shoulders. She was not merely tolerated, she was respected. She had proven in front of the galaxy's most powerful figures that her abilities mattered more than the prejudices of her species. Ethan smiled faintly. "Lyra's talents are exceptional and her insight is invaluable. Judging her based on outdated notions of perfection would have been a grave mistake. We work as equals, and that is why we succeed." The council debated in hushed tones. Some were openly reluctant to acknowledge the achievement, but others could not deny the facts. A compromise was reached. Lyra would retain her position and be formally recognized for her contributions, while Ethan would continue to lead collaborative projects under the council's supervision. Outside the chambers, whispers spread throughout the station. Aliens who had dismissed Lyra as flawed now regarded her with a mixture of awe and respect. Humans who had doubted their place among more advanced species felt inspired by Ethan's willingness to judge talent over tradition. In the days that followed, Ethan and Lyra continued to collaborate on new projects. Their partnership became legendary across multiple sectors. Lyra's designs and improvements were integrated into station operations, improving safety, efficiency, and even quality of life for all inhabitants. Ethan's leadership and vision proved that humans could contribute not just as visitors or traders, but as innovators capable of shaping interstellar society. Despite their success, they faced challenges. Some aliens remained wary of human influence, and rival factions attempted to sabotage their work. Ethan and Lyra met these challenges with intelligence and caution. Lyra's intimate knowledge of alien technology, combined with Ethan's strategic thinking, allowed them to anticipate problems and resolve conflicts before they escalated. Their bond deepened over time. Beyond professional respect, a mutual understanding and friendship grew. Lyra admired Ethan's ability to see beyond appearances, to value character and skill over rank. Ethan, in turn, recognized the courage and resilience that had allowed Lyra to survive rejection and excel despite adversity. They shared quiet moments of conversation, exploring ideas, discussing the future, and laughing at small absurdities of station life. One evening, as the station rotated slowly around the gas giant, Ethan and Lyra worked side by side in a quiet maintenance bay, far from observers. The viewport showed swirling clouds of the planet below, a breathtaking panorama of color and motion. Ethan looked at Lyra and said, "You've changed more than the station's systems. You've changed minds, perceptions, and perhaps even hearts, not just here but across species." Lyra looked at him, her usual reserve softened by a rare smile. "I only followed what I knew was right. You helped me see that my worth is more than what others say. I never imagined anyone would treat me like an equal." Ethan nodded. "Equality is simple when you recognize skill and integrity. That's all it takes." Word of their success eventually reached distant sectors. Other humans and aliens, previously bound by fear or tradition, began to seek collaboration. The idea that a human could work effectively with aliens, that talent could be recognized regardless of species, began to shift perceptions. Lyra's story became symbolic, a testament to resilience, skill, and the importance of judging people by their abilities, not their flaws. Yet, even with recognition and admiration, new challenges awaited. The Council imposed larger projects, some requiring cooperation between species with deep-seated rivalries. Lyra's past colleagues, still bitter from their rejection of her, occasionally attempted interference. But Ethan and Lyra had learned to navigate both political tension and technical complexity with patience, intelligence, and mutual trust. Their crowning achievement came during a station-wide emergency, when an untested energy conduit threatened to overload, potentially destroying several sectors. Ethan and Lyra coordinated a daring solution, integrating human ingenuity and alien precision to safely dissipate the energy. The event solidified their reputations as heroes and innovators. Aliens who once sneered at humans now sought Ethan's guidance, while those who doubted Lyra now treated her with reverence. In the quiet aftermath of the crisis, as the station returned to normal operations, Ethan and Lyra stood together on the observation deck. The stars stretched endlessly before them, a reminder of possibilities yet to be explored. Lyra turned to Ethan. "I never imagined my life could be like this. I was rejected, overlooked, and yet here I am, recognized, respected, and valued. All because you saw me for what I could do, not what others said I was." Ethan smiled, his eyes reflecting the light of distant stars. "You did this yourself. I only gave you the chance to show it. Talent, courage, and perseverance, they cannot be denied, and neither can you." The moment was quiet, filled with a sense of accomplishment and anticipation. Together they had proven that collaboration, understanding, and respect could overcome prejudice, challenge traditions, and reshape expectations across the galaxy. Their story was no longer just about survival or skill. It was about what humans and aliens could achieve when they worked together as equals, guided by intelligence, courage, and mutual respect. From the bustling docking bays to the council chambers, from the maintenance corridors to the highest observation decks, whispers of their deeds spread. Humans, long underestimated, had shown ingenuity and adaptability. Aliens, long bound by rigid social norms, had witnessed the value of judging talent by ability rather than status. And in the midst of it all, Ethan and Lyra quietly continued their work side by side, ready to face whatever challenges the galaxy might present next. The orbital station, once a symbol of hierarchy and rigid tradition, had begun to transform. Spaces that were once reserved for the elite now became centers of innovation. Species that had never collaborated before began tentative partnerships. And at the heart of this change were two unlikely allies, a human billionaire and a rejected alien Maid, whose respect for each other had sparked a revolution not of weapons or war, but of knowledge, skill, and understanding. As the station rotated silently above the swirling,